Hey everyone, welcome to the Lilly Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Lilly, and I'm so thrilled you're here with me today. This is the space where we dive deep into practical English that you can actually use in your everyday life, not just boring textbook stuff that nobody talks about. If this is your first time joining us, I want to say a huge welcome to you. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Trust me, you'll want to catch every single one of these conversations because they're packed with real, usable English that'll transform how you speak. And hey, while you're here, don't forget to check out our podcast playlist where you can find all of our previous episodes. We've built an amazing collection of content that covers everything from casual conversations to business English, and I really encourage you to explore the whole playlist. You'll find so much value there, and it'll help you create a consistent learning routine. So grab that playlist, add episodes to your queue, and let's make learning English a fun adventure together. All right, let's jump into today's topic. We're going to be talking about everyday English vocabulary that you hear and use literally all the time, whether you're at the store, having coffee with friends, sitting in an office, or just hanging around at home. These are the words that real people use, the words that make you sound natural and confident. They're not fancy or complicated, but they're absolutely essential if you want to speak English the way native speakers do. By the time we finish this episode, you're going to have such a solid foundation of these everyday words that you'll start using them automatically in your actual conversations. Let's begin with something super relatable that everyone can understand. Every single morning, you have a routine, right? You get out of bed, you freshen up, you get ready for your day. And guess what? There are specific English words that go along with these activities. So let's start with the word wake up. This is literally the first thing you do every single day. You wake up in the morning, you might feel groggy, you might feel energized, but you definitely wake up. I woke up early this morning. Now try saying it a different way. She wakes up at 6 o'clock every day. See how the same word works in different situations? That's the power of understanding how to use these words flexibly. Now, once you wake up, what's the next thing you do? You probably get out of bed, right? That's another phrase we use constantly. I got out of bed and started my morning. Or maybe you say, I don't want to get out of bed because it's too cold. These are real, authentic phrases that English speakers use all the time. The key is to start thinking about your morning routine in English. Instead of doing these things automatically without language, start narrating what you're doing. This helps your brain connect the English words with the actual actions happening in your life. So tomorrow morning, as you're getting ready, think about these words and say them out loud if you can. Next up is the word shower or take a shower. This is something you probably do every single day. You can say, I took a hot shower this morning, or I usually take a quick shower before breakfast. Try saying that. I took a hot shower this morning and it made me feel so fresh. Then there's brush your teeth. You brush your teeth, hopefully twice a day, right? So you can say, I brush my teeth twice a day, or I brushed my teeth and got ready for work. These simple actions are the foundation of your morning routine, and now you know how to talk about them in English. Let's practice a short morning routine paragraph together. Listen carefully. I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning and felt pretty good. I got out of bed slowly, walked to the bathroom, and took a warm shower. Then I brushed my teeth, looked in the mirror, and felt ready to face the day. I went to the kitchen and made myself a cup of coffee. Now you try creating your own version of this paragraph using your actual morning routine. Change the times, change the details, make it personal to your life. This is how vocabulary really sticks in your brain when you connect it to your real experiences. Okay, so you've woken up, you've showered, you've brushed your teeth, and now you're probably thinking about food. This is where the word breakfast comes in, and let me tell you, this word is so important in English. In English-speaking cultures, breakfast is actually a really big deal. People talk about what they had for breakfast, what they like for breakfast, whether they skip breakfast or not. So let's learn some useful phrases. You can say, I had cereal for breakfast, or she doesn't eat breakfast because she's in a hurry, or we went out for breakfast on Sunday morning. Say that last one with me. We went out for breakfast on Sunday morning. Doesn't it sound natural? Now let's talk about common breakfast foods. You've probably heard of these: eggs, toast, cereal, oatmeal, bacon, pancakes, fruit. These are words you need to know. You can say, I like eggs and toast for breakfast, or my friend always has cereal with milk. Try making your own breakfast sentence. What do you like to eat in the morning? Maybe you say, I usually have bread with jam, or I prefer toast with butter and honey. Whatever it is, practice saying it in English, because one day someone will ask you, what did you have for breakfast? And you want to answer naturally and confidently. There are also some important verbs that go with eating. You make breakfast, you have breakfast, you eat breakfast, or you might skip breakfast if you're running late. So you can say, I made a big breakfast this morning, or I skipped breakfast today because I overslept. Practice these combinations because they're so common in daily conversation. And here's something important. The verb have is really useful when talking about meals. It's not just I eat breakfast. English speakers often say, I have breakfast, or I have lunch, or I have dinner. It might seem weird at first if you're used to saying I eat, but trust me, have is very natural and very common. So get comfortable saying I have breakfast, or let's have lunch together. Let me give you a practice paragraph about a breakfast experience. Listen. This morning I woke up late and didn't have time for a big breakfast. I made myself a quick bowl of cereal with milk and grabbed a banana. I ate while standing in the kitchen, rushed to get dressed, and left the house. I felt a little hungry by 10 o'clock because my breakfast wasn't very filling. Now you try. Tell me about a breakfast you had recently. Use the verbs make, have, eat, and skip, and include some actual foods you mentioned. Speak it out loud because that's how it becomes part of your natural speech. After breakfast, most people head to work or to their daily activities. So let's talk about words related to work and getting ready to start your day. The word work itself is super important. You go to work, you work from home, you work in an office, you work at a restaurant. The possibilities are endless, but the word stays the same. You can say, I go to work by bus every morning, or my sister works from home now, or he works in a bank. Try saying all three of those sentences out loud. Feel how natural they sound once you've said them a few times. Now, let's talk about time. This is crucial for talking about your workday. You need to know how to say times and talk about when things happen. You might say, I start work at 9 o'clock, or the meeting is at 2 p.m., or I leave the office at 5 o'clock. These are things you'll say or hear literally every single day if you work. Practice saying these times. The meeting is at 9:30. I have lunch at noon. I finish work at 6 o'clock. What about you? When do you start your day? When do you have lunch? When do you finish? Try saying your actual schedule out loud in English. This is such a practical skill because people will definitely ask you about your schedule at some point. There's also the word break. Everyone gets breaks at work, right? You might say, I take a coffee break at 10 o'clock, or let's take a break and stretch our legs, or I don't have time for a break today. Try practicing. I took a 15-minute break after the meeting, or we usually take a lunch break at 1 p.m. These are phrases you'll hear constantly in a workplace, and they're essential for fitting in with coworkers and understanding what's happening around you. If someone says, let's take a break, you want to understand exactly what they mean and respond naturally. Let me give you a full workday scenario to practice. I woke up early and got ready quickly. I arrived at work by 8:45 and settled at my desk. At 10 o'clock, I took a short coffee break. I had meetings throughout the morning, and by noon, I was ready for lunch. I took an hour break and ate with my colleague. We talked about the projects we're working on. After lunch, I continued with more work until 5 o'clock when I packed up and went home. Remember, this is your actual day, so make it personal and specific to your life. That's when vocabulary really becomes powerful. All right, so it's getting close to lunchtime in our day, and this is where things get really social. The word lunch is obviously important, but what's even more important is learning how to talk about lunch with other people. You might say, let's go out for lunch, or I brought my lunch from home, or I usually eat lunch at my desk. When you're making plans with someone, you might say, where do you want to have lunch? Or, do you want to grab lunch together? These are real conversations that happen every single day in workplaces and schools all around the world. Now let's talk about the actual lunch experience. You might go to a restaurant, or you might pack a lunch. You might eat with friends or alone. You might try something new, or get your usual favorite. All of these are ways to talk about lunch. I went to a cafe for lunch and ordered a sandwich. Or, I packed my lunch today because I wanted to save money. Or, my friends and I went to a restaurant for lunch and tried a new place. Each of these tells a complete story. When you practice like this, you're not just learning individual words. You're learning how to construct complete thoughts and narratives in English. Each of these tells a complete story. When you practice like this, you're not just learning individual words, you're learning how to construct complete thoughts and narratives in English. Small talk is a huge part of English conversation, and a lot of small talk happens around meals. People ask, what did you have for lunch? Or, where did you go for lunch? Or, do you want to have lunch together? Learning to answer these questions naturally is so important for building confidence in English. You're not just talking about food, you're connecting with people and building relationships through conversation. Let me give you a lunch conversation scenario. Listen, hey, it's almost noon. Are you hungry? Do you want to go out for lunch? Great! There's a nice restaurant near here that I like. They have good food and reasonable prices. I usually order a salad and a sandwich. What do you usually like to eat? Oh, you're vegetarian? Perfect. They have a lot of vegetarian options. Let's go there. After lunch, we can walk around a bit before heading back to work. Now, you create your own lunch conversation. Think about where you like to eat, what you like to order, and how you'd invite someone to go with you. Practice this dialogue out loud. If you're actually having the conversation, this is how you build real-world speaking skills. Okay, so you've had lunch, you're heading back to work or school, and you're in the afternoon stretch. The afternoon has its own unique vocabulary and situations. Okay, so you've had lunch, you're heading back to work or school, and you're in the afternoon stretch. The afternoon has its own unique vocabulary and situations. Here's something really important. Energy and tiredness are huge topics in afternoon conversations. People ask, are you tired? Or, do you need some coffee? Or, we're almost done for the day. Learning to talk about how you're feeling physically and mentally is crucial for everyday conversation. As the afternoon turns into evening, the vocabulary shifts a bit. You start saying things like, I can't wait to leave work, or it's almost quitting time, or I'm done for the day. You might say, I'm heading home now, or I have plans after work, or I'm going straight home to relax. These are phrases that show the natural transition from work life to personal time. And this is where planning starts. People ask, what are you doing tonight? Or, do you want to do something after work? Or, are you free this evening? Learning to talk about your evening plans is important because it shows you can think ahead and communicate with others about future activities. There's also the whole concept of getting off work or leaving work or clocking out if you work somewhere with that system. You can say, I left work at 5:30, or I'm getting off early today, or I need to finish this before I leave work. The variations are endless, but they all relate to this important transition in your day. Practice. I got off work early and went shopping. Or, I left the office and went straight to the gym. Or, I finished work and took a walk in the park. Each of these tells a story about what happens after your workday ends. This is important vocabulary for your daily life. Let me paint a picture of an afternoon and evening transition. By 3 o'clock, I was getting a bit tired from the meetings. I drank a cup of coffee and pushed through. At 5 o'clock, my manager said we could leave early. I was so happy to hear that. I packed my bag quickly and left the office. On the way home, I texted my friend to see if she was free. She said yes, so I went to her place instead of going straight home. We spent the evening talking and watching a movie. Now you try. What does your afternoon usually look like? How do you transition from work to your evening? Create a little narrative and practice saying it. Remember, the more specific and personal you make it, the better it works for your own learning. All right, evening is here, and one of the most common topics in the evening is dinner. What's for dinner? Have you eaten dinner? Let's go out for dinner. These are questions and suggestions you hear constantly. The word dinner is basically the evening meal, and it's super important in English conversation. You can say, I made dinner for my family, or we went out for dinner on Saturday, or I'm cooking dinner right now, or what time do you usually eat dinner? All of these are natural, everyday sentences that you'll definitely encounter and want to be able to use. Now, dinner can be prepared in different ways. You can cook dinner. You can order dinner from a restaurant. You can prepare dinner. You can make dinner. All of these verbs work with dinner and they give different meanings. For example, I cooked dinner from scratch using fresh ingredients versus I ordered dinner from a Thai restaurant because I didn't have time to cook. See the difference? One tells about the effort you made. The other tells about a choice you made. Practice using different verbs. I prepared a simple dinner with pasta and vegetables. Or, my partner cooked an amazing dinner for our anniversary. Or, we ordered pizza for dinner because the kids were hungry. There's also the whole world of dinner conversations and situations. You might say, let's have dinner together, or I had dinner with my parents, or we had dinner at a fancy restaurant. You might describe what you ate. I had salmon and vegetables for dinner. You might talk about when dinner happens. We usually have dinner at 7 o'clock, or dinner is ready, or come to dinner. These are phrases you need to know because dinner is such a central part of daily life and conversation. Let me give you a dinner scenario to practice. I arrived home and was very hungry. I decided to cook dinner because I wanted something homemade. I chopped vegetables and cooked rice. While the food was cooking, I set the table and poured myself a glass of water. After 20 minutes, dinner was ready. I sat down and ate slowly, enjoying every bite. The dinner was simple but satisfying. After I finished, I cleaned the dishes and relaxed on the couch. Now it's your turn. What's your dinner routine? Do you cook or order? What's your favorite dinner? How long does it take? Create your own dinner narrative and practice it. This is vocabulary that you'll use almost every single day. After dinner, most people want to relax. This is where the vocabulary gets even more interesting because now we're talking about leisure and personal time. You might say, I relaxed on the couch, or I spent the evening reading, or I watched TV after dinner, or I played video games, or I spent time with my family. All of these are ways to describe what you do in your free time. The key is learning the specific verbs that go with different activities. You watch TV, you read books, you play games, you listen to music, you spend time with people. Let's explore some specific activities and the vocabulary that goes with them. You might say, I watched a movie, or I watched a series on Netflix, or I watched the news. You might say, I read a book, or I read the newspaper, or I read an article online. You might say, I played chess, or I played a video game, or I played with my dog. You might say, I listened to music, or I listened to a podcast, or I listened to an audiobook, or I played with my dog. You might say, I listened to music, or I listened to a podcast, or I listened to an audiobook. There's also the time element in evening activities. You might say, I spent 2 hours watching TV, or I read for a while before bed, or I played games until late, or I listened to music for the whole evening. You might talk about why you're doing the activity. I watched a movie to relax, or I read to forget about my stressful day, or I played games because I enjoy them. You might talk about the experience. The movie was great, or the book was boring, or the game was fun, or the music was relaxing. All of these descriptions help paint a picture of your evening and what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy about it. Let me give you an evening relaxation scenario. After dinner, I was tired but wanted to relax a bit. I went to the living room and turned on the TV. There was a show I wanted to watch, so I made myself comfortable on the couch. After watching for an hour, I felt more relaxed. During the second episode, I became really sleepy. I decided to turn off the TV and go to bed early. I read a few pages from my book before falling asleep. It was a good evening. Now, create your own evening scenario. What do you usually do after dinner? How long do you relax? What's your favorite way to spend your evening? Practice this narrative and notice how naturally you can describe your routine. As the evening winds down, we reach bedtime, and this is where another set of important vocabulary comes in. You need to know how to talk about going to bed and sleeping. You might say, I went to bed at 10 o'clock. Or, I'm so tired, I need to go to bed. Or, I couldn't sleep last night. Or, I got 8 hours of sleep. These are things you hear and say all the time. The word sleep is essential. You must sleep, you get sleep, you can't sleep, you sleep well, you sleep poorly. The variations are endless. Let's talk about the bedtime routine. Before you go to bed, you might say, I brushed my teeth, or I took a shower, or I set my alarm, or I put on pajamas, or I got into bed, or I fell asleep quickly, or I lay awake for a while. These are all normal things that happen before and during sleep. You might describe the quality of your sleep. I slept deeply, or I had a restless night, or I slept like a log, or I woke up several times. These phrases help you talk about your actual sleep experience, which is something people ask about. How did you sleep? Or did you sleep well? Or how many hours of sleep did you get? There's also the whole concept of being tired or well-rested. You can say, I'm exhausted, or I'm tired, or I'm worn out, or I'm refreshed, or I feel energized. These words describe how you feel in relation to sleep. For example, I didn't get enough sleep last night, so I'm really tired today. Or, I slept 9 hours and I feel amazing. Or, I took a nap and now I'm more alert. Learning to describe your energy levels and how sleep affects you is important for everyday conversation. People notice when you're tired, and they often ask about it. Let me give you a bedtime narrative. I looked at the clock and realized it was already 10:30. I had to get up early the next morning, so I decided to go to bed. I brushed my teeth, changed into my pajamas, and got into bed. I read a few pages from my book, which made me sleepy. I turned off the light and closed my eyes. It took me about 15 minutes to fall asleep. I had a peaceful night and slept until 7 in the morning. When I woke up, I felt well-rested and ready for a new day. Now try creating your own bedtime routine. What do you do before bed? How long does it take you to fall asleep? How do you usually sleep? Describe your actual bedtime experience. This vocabulary is practical and personal, which makes it stick in your memory. Now, throughout all of these daily activities, you're experiencing different emotions and feelings. Being able to express how you feel is absolutely crucial in English. Let's start with the basic emotions. You can be happy, sad, angry, surprised, excited, nervous, bored, or confused. These are fundamental words that you need to know. But just knowing the words isn't enough. You need to know how to use them in sentences. You might say, I'm happy today, or she looks sad, or he felt angry about the situation, or I'm excited about the weekend. There are also more nuanced ways to describe emotions. Instead of just saying happy, you might say delighted, pleased, content, or joyful. Instead of just saying sad, you might say disappointed, upset, heartbroken, or depressed. But here's the thing. As a learner, you don't need all of these right away. Start with the basic emotions and get really comfortable with them. Then slowly add more. For now, practice the basic ones: happy, sad, angry, excited, scared, nervous. Say sentences with each. I'm happy because it's my birthday. I felt sad when I heard the news. She was angry at me. I'm excited for the trip. I was scared of the dog. I felt nervous before the presentation. Another really important aspect of emotions is being able to say why you feel that way. You don't just say, I'm happy. You say, I'm happy because, and then give the reason. This makes your English so much more complete and expressive. You might say, I'm happy because I have good friends, or I'm sad because I miss my family, or I'm excited because I have a vacation coming up, or I'm nervous because I have an important meeting, or I'm bored because this movie is too slow. By connecting the emotion to the reason, you're creating full thoughts and telling stories about your life. Let me give you an emotional narrative. Today was an interesting day. In the morning, I felt excited because I had something to look forward to. At work, I felt stressed during the meetings, but when they ended, I felt relieved. At lunch, I had fun with my coworker, so I felt happy. In the afternoon, I felt a bit tired and bored during the training session. After work, I felt energized again when I went to the gym. In the evening, I felt peaceful and content while relaxing at home. Now you try. Think about your day today or yesterday. What emotions did you experience? Why? Create your own emotional narrative. Use phrases like, I felt because, and I was when. This helps you connect your feelings to specific situations and express yourself more completely. Now let's talk about describing people, both how they look and what they're like as people. This is important because you'll often need to describe someone else to another person. You might say, "My friend is tall and has long dark hair," or "My teacher is short and always wears glasses," or "My coworker is athletic and very friendly." Being able to describe people accurately is useful in real-life conversations. Let's start with physical appearance. You have words like tall, short, thin, heavy, young, old, pretty, handsome, beautiful, ugly. Now, be careful with some of these words, because in English, some of them can be considered rude if you use them the wrong way. Let's talk about height first. You can say, "He's tall," or "She's short," or "I'm average height." You can also be more specific. "He's very tall, probably 6 feet," or "She's quite short, maybe 5 feet," or "I'm about 5'7". You might also say, "My brother is taller than me," or "My mother is shorter than my father." When describing people, it's often good to mention other features too. You might also say, "My brother is taller than me," or "My mother is shorter than my father." When describing people, it's often good to mention other features too. You might mention eye color. "She has blue eyes," or "He has brown eyes," or "They have green eyes." These details help create a complete picture of what someone looks like. Now let's talk about personality. This is often even more important than physical appearance. You might say, "He's a very friendly person," or "She's kind and thoughtful," or "They're outgoing and funny," or "He's quiet and reserved," or "She's intelligent and hardworking," or "They're lazy and rude." Personality words help people understand who someone actually is, not just what they look like. You can say, "My best friend is loyal and trustworthy," or "My boss is strict but fair," or "My neighbor is annoying and loud," or "My teacher is patient and encouraging." These words paint a picture of the person's character and how they behave. Let me give you a description scenario. I want to tell you about my friend Sarah. She's about my height, maybe 5'5", with long blonde hair that she usually wears in a ponytail. She has bright blue eyes and a really warm smile. But what I like most about her isn't her appearance. She's one of the kindest people I know. She's always helping others, she's a good listener, and she has an amazing sense of humor. She's also very organized and responsible. We've been friends for 5 years, and I can't imagine life without her. Now, you describe someone important in your life. What do they look like? What's their personality like? Why do you like them? Practice describing them in detail. This helps you practice both appearance vocabulary and personality vocabulary in a meaningful context. One of the most common things you'll talk about in English is what you like and what you don't like. These conversations happen constantly. Someone asks, "What kind of music do you like?" Or, "Do you like spicy food?" Or, "What's your favorite movie?" Understanding how to answer these questions and express your preferences is essential. The basic verb is like. You can say, "I like coffee," or "She likes reading," or "They like playing football," or "We like traveling." You can make it stronger by saying, "I love coffee," or "I really like it," or "I absolutely love it." You can make it weaker by saying, "I kind of like it," or "I don't mind it," or "It's okay." On the opposite end, you have dislike or don't like. You can say, "I don't like horror movies," or "She doesn't like cold weather," or "He dislikes vegetables," or "They don't like waiting in line." You can make it stronger by saying, "I hate it," or "I absolutely hate it," or "I can't stand it." But here's a tip. Be careful about using hate too much in conversation. While it's grammatically correct, in English-speaking cultures, people often prefer softer language. So instead of saying, I hate math, you might say, I don't really like math, or math is not my favorite subject. It's more polite and still gets your point across. There are also in-between preferences. You might say, I'm not really into horror movies, but I like thrillers. Or, coffee is okay, but I prefer tea. Or, I don't mind spicy food, but I prefer mild. Or, I can take it or leave it. These nuanced expressions help you explain yourself more fully. And when you're talking about preferences, it's great to say why you like or don't like something. For example, I like coffee because it gives me energy. Or, I don't like horror movies because they scare me. Or, I prefer tea because it's more calming than coffee. Or, I like summer because the weather is warm. By adding the because part, you're creating complete thoughts and having real conversations. Let me give you a preferences conversation. So, what kind of food do you like? I really like Thai food because the flavors are amazing, but I also like Italian. My partner, on the other hand, doesn't like spicy food at all. He prefers mild flavors. We compromise by going to places that have options for both of us. What about you? Do you like cooking or do you prefer eating out? I like both, actually. Cooking is fun and healthy, but eating out is relaxing because I don't have to clean up. Now you try. What are your food preferences? What's your music preference? What's your movie preference? Create your own preference conversation and practice it. This is vocabulary that you use almost every single day when interacting with other people. Another really important set of vocabulary is asking for help and offering help. You're going to need to ask for help at some point, and you're going to want to help others too. The most basic way to ask for help is simply, can you help me? That's direct and clear. You can also say, do you have a minute to help me? Or, could you give me a hand? Or, I could use some help. Or, do you mind helping me with something? All of these are polite ways to ask for help. People will respond to these requests. They might say, sure, what do you need? Or, of course, I'd be happy to help. Or, sorry, I'm busy right now. Or, let me finish this first. When you ask for help, it's usually good to specify what you need help with. You might say, can you help me carry these boxes? Or, I need help with my homework. Or, could you help me understand this? Or, I'm struggling with this problem. Can you help? By being specific, you give the other person a clear picture of what you need. This makes it easier for them to decide if they can help and what the help will involve. You might also say, I need a favor, or I'm asking for your help, or I could really use your assistance. Different situations call for different ways of asking. On the flip side, offering help is also important. You might say to someone, do you need help? Or, can I help you? Or, let me help you. Or, would you like some assistance? These are kind and generous offers. When someone offers help, you can say, yes, please, that would be great. Or, no thanks, I've got it. Or, actually, yes, I would appreciate that. Learning to both ask for and give help is part of being a good communicator and a good community member. It shows empathy and willingness to support others. Let me give you a help scenario. I was moving into my new apartment and I had so many boxes. I called my friend and asked, can you help me move? I have a lot of stuff. She said, of course, I'd love to help. When do you need me? We planned for the weekend. When she arrived, I was so grateful. Throughout the day, she helped me carry boxes, arrange furniture, and unpack. At the end, I said, thank you so much for helping me. I couldn't have done this without you. She said, happy to help. That's what friends are for. Now think of a time you needed help or helped someone. Create your own help scenario and practice it. This vocabulary is practical and shows your ability to work with and depend on others. So much of daily conversation involves making plans and arranging things with other people. You need to be able to say what you're doing in the future and coordinate with others. The simplest way to talk about future plans is using I'm going to. For example, I'm going to the movies tonight, or I'm going to meet my friend tomorrow, or I'm going to cook dinner when I get home. The simplest way to talk about future plans is using I'm going to. For example, I'm going to the movies tonight, or I'm going to meet my friend tomorrow, or I'm going to cook dinner when I get home. When you're making plans with someone, you might ask, "What are you doing tomorrow?" Or, "Do you want to do something this weekend?" Or, "Are you free on Friday?" Or, "Let's make plans." When someone makes a suggestion, you can accept it by saying, "Yeah, that sounds great." Or, "I'd love to." Or, "That works for me." Or, "Let's do it." You can also decline by saying, "I can't, I'm busy." Or, "I'm sorry, I already have plans." Or, "I don't think I can make it." Or, "Maybe next time." Learning to make and respond to plans is crucial for social interaction. You also need vocabulary for the details of plans. You might say, "Let's meet at the coffee shop," or "I'll pick you up at your house," or "Let's meet at 7 o'clock," or "What time works for you?" Or "Where do you want to go?" Or "How long do you want to stay?" These questions and statements help you coordinate the specific details of when, where, and what. You might also reschedule, "Can we move our meeting to next week?" Or, "I need to cancel our plans, I'm sorry." Or, "Can we meet at a different time?" These are all practical phrases that you'll use. Let me give you a plan-making conversation. "Hey, are you free this Saturday? I'm thinking of going to the beach. Do you want to come?" "Great! Let's plan the details." "What time should we meet?" "How about 9 in the morning?" "Perfect! Should I pick you up from your house?" "Yes, that would be great. My address is 123 Main Street." "Okay, I'll pick you up at 8:30 so we have time to get there." "What should we bring?" "Maybe a picnic lunch and sunscreen." "Sounds good." "Should we invite anyone else?" "Sure. Let's call Tom and see if he wants to come." "All right, I'll text everyone the details." "What should we bring?" "Maybe a picnic lunch and sunscreen." "Sounds good." "Should we invite anyone else?" "Sure. Let's call Tom and see if he wants to come." "All right, I'll text everyone the details." Here's a vocabulary topic that seems simple but is actually used constantly: weather. When people greet each other, they often talk about the weather. "Nice day, isn't it?" Or, "The weather is beautiful." Or, "It's so hot today." Or, "I can't believe how cold it is." Learning to describe weather conditions is practical and easy. You have basic weather words like sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowy, windy, hot, cold, warm, cool. You can say, "Today is sunny," or "Tomorrow will be rainy," or "It's been very hot this week," or "The wind is strong." You can also describe how the weather makes you feel or what it makes you want to do. For example, "The weather is beautiful, so I want to go for a walk." Or, "It's too cold to go outside." Or, "The rain is depressing me." Or, "I love days like this." You might say, "It looks like rain." Or, "I think it's going to snow." Or, "The forecast says it'll be sunny tomorrow." Or, "I hope the weather improves." You might say, "It looks like rain." Or, "I think it's going to snow." Or, "The forecast says it'll be sunny tomorrow." Or, "I hope the weather improves." Weather also affects your plans and activities. You might say, "The weather is nice, so let's go to the park." Or, "It's raining, so we'll stay inside." Or, "The snow made the roads dangerous." Or, "The heat is unbearable today." You might talk about weather and clothing. "It's cold, so I put on a jacket." Or, the sun is strong, so I'll wear sunscreen. Or, it might rain, so I brought an umbrella. You might talk about weather and mood. Sunny weather makes me happy. Or, rainy days make me sad. Or, hot weather makes me tired. These connections between weather and your life make for natural conversation topics. Let me give you a weather-related narrative. This morning, I woke up and checked the weather. It said sunny and warm, which made me happy. After breakfast, I decided to go for a walk because the weather was so nice. I put on light clothes and grabbed my sunglasses. The sun felt warm on my face, and there was a gentle breeze. After the walk, I was tired but happy. In the afternoon, I noticed the clouds coming in, and by evening, it started to rain. The temperature dropped, so I put on a sweater and stayed inside. I made tea and watched the rain from my window. The next morning, the sun was back, and the weather was beautiful again. Talk about the weather today. How does it affect your mood? What activities do you want to do based on the weather? Practice describing the weather and its impact on your daily life. All right, we've covered so much vocabulary in this episode. We've talked about morning routines, breakfast, work, lunch, the afternoon, dinner, evening relaxation, bedtime, emotions, describing people, preferences, asking for help, making plans, and weather. Now let's bring it all together into one comprehensive daily narrative that uses all of these words and concepts. This is where you see how all these individual vocabulary pieces fit together into real, complete conversation. Here we go. I woke up this morning feeling happy and energized. The weather was beautiful and sunny, which put me in a great mood right away. I got out of bed, took a warm shower, brushed my teeth, and changed into comfortable clothes. In the kitchen, I made myself a simple but nourishing breakfast of cereal with fresh fruit. After eating, I felt ready to start my day. I checked my schedule and realized I had important meetings at work. I left the house and drove to the office, arriving by 8:45. The traffic was light, which was lucky. At the office, I greeted my coworkers, most of whom looked tired but friendly. We had our first meeting at 9 o'clock, which was productive. By 10 o'clock, I needed a coffee break. I went to the break room, made a strong cup of coffee, and chatted with a colleague about our weekend plans. She invited me to go out for lunch at a new Italian restaurant, and I accepted happily. After the break, I felt refreshed and continued with more work. At noon, I met my colleague, and we went to the restaurant. The food was delicious, and we had an enjoyable conversation. We talked about our families, our favorite foods, our upcoming vacation plans. We laughed and felt connected. After lunch, which lasted about an hour, we returned to work. In the afternoon, I felt a bit tired, but I pushed through with determination. By 5 o'clock, I was ready to leave. I packed my bag and drove home, feeling satisfied with the productive day. When I arrived home, I changed into comfortable clothes and relaxed on the couch for a few minutes. Then I started cooking dinner. I made pasta with fresh vegetables because I wanted something healthy and comforting. While cooking, I listened to my favorite music and felt content. After dinner, I spent some time reading a book that I've been enjoying. Later in the evening, I called my mother to see how she was doing. We talked about our week, and I felt happy to hear her voice. After the call, I started getting ready for bed. I brushed my teeth, put on pajamas, and got into bed. I read for a few more minutes before turning off the light. I fell asleep quickly and peacefully. So that narrative used almost every vocabulary word we've talked about in this episode, and that's the goal. You want to be able to string together all these vocabulary words into complete, coherent stories about your actual life. This is how you develop real English fluency. not by memorizing individual words, but by understanding how to use them together to express complete thoughts. I want you to take this framework and create your own version using your actual daily life. Don't change the structure too much at first, just change the details to match your routine. Say your version out loud several times, then gradually start changing more of the structure and adding more of your own personality. That's how vocabulary becomes truly yours. Wow, we've covered so much ground in this episode. We've explored vocabulary related to every single part of your day, from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep. We've talked about the actions you take, the feelings you experience, the people you interact with, and the activities you enjoy. But here's the most important thing I want you to remember. Vocabulary is not just about knowing words. It's about being able to use those words in meaningful, authentic ways. It's about being able to express yourself and connect with others through language. And that's exactly what you're doing by practicing these conversations and narratives. I encourage you to continue practicing. Pick one day this week and narrate your entire day in English. Not in your head, but out loud if possible. Describe every single activity, every emotion, every interaction. If you can't do the whole day, pick a few key moments. The practice of actually speaking these words and putting them into sentences is what makes them stick in your brain. It's what transforms them from words you know intellectually to words that become part of your natural speech. Trust me, when you can do this with confidence, your English will sound natural and authentic. I also want to remind you about the podcast playlist. In the description below, you'll find a link to our podcast playlist where you can listen to all of our other episodes. We've covered so many topics, from business English to casual conversation, from describing yourself to making new friends. Each episode is designed to give you practical, usable vocabulary and conversational skills. I highly recommend exploring the playlist and finding episodes that match your interests and learning goals. Maybe you're interested in learning English for your job. Maybe you want to make new friends. Maybe you just want to understand movies and TV shows better. Whatever your goal is, there's probably an episode in the playlist that can help you get there. And please, if you're enjoying this podcast and finding it helpful, share it with your friends. Tell them about the Lilly Talk Podcast. Help them understand that learning English doesn't have to be boring or difficult. It can be engaging, practical, and fun. The more people who join this learning community, the more we can all grow together. Leave a comment below letting me know what vocabulary topics you'd like to explore in future episodes. I read your comments and suggestions, and they help me create content that's relevant and useful for you. Your feedback matters so much to me. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you learned so much about everyday English vocabulary and how to use it in your daily life. Remember, the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small victories. And most importantly, keep speaking. Even if you make mistakes, that's okay. Mistakes are part of the learning process. They're how we grow and improve. So speak with confidence, practice regularly, and never stop pursuing your English learning goals. Celebrate small victories. And most importantly, keep speaking. Even if you make mistakes, that's okay. Mistakes are part of the learning process. They're how we grow and improve. So speak with confidence, practice regularly, and never stop pursuing your English learning goals.